Hello to all the listeners. We will be starting today studying Hilchot Shabbat, chapter 18, Perek Yod Hayet. This chapter is a continuation of the previous chapters that we were studying in regard to the Isur of taking things out from one domain to another, from one Reshut to another, Hosa'am Reshut Reshut. Explains that the rule of Isur Hosa'am Reshut Reshut applies only to objects that have some sort of use. So to be liable for Hosa'ah, someone has to take out the minimum amount of whatever object that he is using for it to be useful. In this chapter we will see, so the first part of the chapter deals with Harambam's Piskei Halacha, Harambam's halachic decisions based on the sources of the sages of Hazal, Talmud, Mishnah, mainly the Talmud and Mishnah. We will see his Piskei Halacha in regards to foods, objects, and animals, the extraction of foods, objects, and animals from one reshut to another, from one domain to another. In the end of this chapter, in the last halachot of this chapter, the second part, we will see how to reach conclusions in regard to something not mentioned in the three types that we wrote: foods, objects, and animals. The different criteria needed to understand in order to define whether or not something is allowed to take out, not allowed to take out, what the minimum amount of taking out for a specific object is. So let's start. Halacha Aleph. המוציא דבר מרשות היחיד לרשות רבים, או מרשות הרבים לרשות היחיד, אינו חייב עד שיוציא ממנו שיעור שמועל כלום. So, somebody who extracts something from reshut hayachid, from the private domain to the public domain, or from the public domain to the private domain, is not liable until he takes out an amount that has some sort of use. And now Rambam, in the next 20 halachot, will explain, will give examples as seen in the sources of the sages. Ve'eluhen shi'urei ha'hosa'ah. Hamosi, and these are the amounts of extraction, to be liable for extraction. Hamosi ochale adam kagerogeret. So, in regard to taking out food fit for human consumption, the amount is gerogeret, a small date. And also foods, different types of foods, can add up one to another to be a gerogeret. והוא שיהיה כגרוגרת מן האוכל עצמו, חוץ מן הקליפים והגרעינים והעוקצים והסובים והמוסר. And the rule of food is that the food that you take out must be in shi'ur of a small date of a gerogeret, the food itself, and not the waste of the food, such as the covers of all kinds of nuts and etc., or the pits of olives. These do not fall into the amounts for taking out, for the liability of taking out. Halacha bet. Yain kederoba rebi'it, v'im haya karush kazait. So to be liable for taking out wine, the minimum amount for taking out is roba rebi'it. Now roba rebi'it is a fourth of the log, which is a amount. It's a what we call in Hebrew nefach. It's a volume, which is about give or take 75 cubic centimeters. And there's different machlokot, etc., but that's about what it is. Again, the fourth of a log. However, wine that is hardened, that is in a hard form, the minimum amount to take out is kazait, as in olive. The milk of a tahor animal, a tahor behema, is kedeh gimi'ah, the amount needed to give a gulp. And the milk of a impure animal is the amount used to rub on an eye for medicinal purposes. Halav isha velo ben besa kedeh liten b'mshifa. The milk of a woman, of a human being, and the whites of an egg are for what we call liten bimshifa, to rub on eyes. Again, this seemingly is talking about medicinal purposes. Shemen, the amount of oil, kedei lasuch eber katan, to rub on eber katan, which we'll see, he'll explain, shehu espa ketana shel regel katan ben yoma, which is the small finger, in other words, the pinky toe of a child that was just born, a newborn baby. So the amount of oil to be liable is to take out that amount. Tal, the amount of dew, kedei lashuf et kilorit, to rub a medicine called kilorit on the person's eye. Vekilor, kedei lashuf b'mayim, and the amount of kilor to take out, this specific medicine, is to be able to wet it with water, the amount to stick in water and be useful. Umayim kedei lirchos b'nei medocha, and the amount of water is to rinse the inside of a grinder. Dibash, the amount of honey is to put on the entire the head of a cut, on some sort of cut that is that needs to be rubbed on. Dam ush'ar kol hamashkin v'chol hashofechin kedereg eit, and any other liquids, the minimum amount is rebi'it, as mentioned previously with wine. Halacha Gimel. Teben tebu'ah kimlo pi para. Wheat grain is, and from now on I'm just going to say the specimen and then the amount. I'm not going to, go over and over and saying the minimum amount, the minimum amount. I'm just going to say the specimen and the amount. So wheat grain, para, to fill up a cow's mouth. Teben kitniyot, legumes, is to fill up the mouth of a camel. However, if he took out legumes in order to feed a cow, he's liable only if he takes out the amount to feed a cow. Even though the amount to feed a cow is less than the amount to feed a camel, he is still liable. Because eating, even if it's a small amount, which isn't too helpful, too impactful, it's still considered eating. Amir, kimlo pitale. Various other grains, the amount to be liable for them is kimlo pitale, to fill up the mouth of a baby goat or baby sheep. Asavim kimlo pigedi, and to be liable for different various types of weeds, you must take out for the amount of a baby goat. Aleshum ve'ale besalim, leaves of garlic and onion, respectively. If they were wet, so the amount is a gerogeret, a small date. Why? Because they're consumable by human beings. However, if they were dry, the amount is kimlo pigedi, because they're only consumable by baby goats. Ve'en mistarefin, or what we call kid. Ve'en mistarefin ze amzel lachomer shebahen, but mistarefin laqal shebahen. And you cannot connect these amounts of ale besalim and ale shum lachomer shebahen, lehumra, in other words, to be more stringent, but rather to be less stringent. Kesad, Harambam will give an example. Hosi teben tebu'ah v'chitnit, mehila. We're talking about the connection of all the teben tebu'ah, all the aforementioned in Halacha Gimel, cannot be put together lahumra, but rather lekula, to be less stringent, not to be more on the more stringent side. Kesad. Hosi teben tebu'ah v'chitnit, im yesh b'shnehen kimlo pi para patur, kimlo pi gamal hayav. So, if you took out teben tebu'ah v'chitnit, which are things that we said teben tebu'ah needs to be, the minimum amount to take out is kimlo pi para, which is less than melo pi gamal. But let's say he took teben tebu'ah and teben kitni. He took wheat grain as well as legumes, and legumes needs to be a larger amount in order to taking them out. If they both together sum up to be the amount of melo pi para, which would be, if you were only to take out wheat grains, you would be hayav. However, because it's mixed in with legumes, you're not liable until you take out melo pi gamal. which is more the amount of that can fill up a camel's mouth, which is more than the amount that fills up a cow's mouth, even though with it, in this mixture, you have wheat grain, which in order to be liable for wheat grain, you could take out even melopi para, which is less than melopi gamal. However, because they are mixed, we go to the higher amount, to the less, and we're less stringent, therefore. And using this rule for the rest of the mixtures of different objects, foods, etc. Halakha dalet. Hamosi asim. Somebody who takes out trees, the amount is to cook the small date amount in the egg. Mixed with oil and put into a pan, and this is the amount that needs to be in order. The amount of trees that could cook such an egg, that will make you liable. The amount of stalk that needs to be taken out in order to be liable is the amount of stalk that can produce a quill that is big enough for him to hold with the tips of his fingers. However, a stalk that was thick into small pieces, the amount is like trees mentioned in the beginning of this halakha. The halakha he. The amount of spices to be liable is to spice an egg, and seemingly doesn't matter whether it's cooked or uncooked. A useful amount of spicing, and also different spices can combine one with another to be hayab. Palpelet kol shehu, pepper, and we're talking about spicy pepper, any amount, because any amount is useful in the cooking world, anybody knows. Iteran kol shehu, tar or gourdon, is the Latin word is gourdon, or tar, any amount. Re'ach tov kol shehu, a good smell, any amount. Re'ach ra kol shehu, something which smells bad, any amount. Mine besamim kol shehen, any type of incense, of good incense, any amount. Argaman tov kol shehu, purple dyed wool, any amount is liable. Betulat averet ahat. The betulat averet is a closed rose. One is enough to make a person liable. Any hard types of metals like copper or barzel, which is what we call iron, kol shehen, because they're useful in any amount. From the dirt of the mizbeach, or the stones of a mizbeach, or the withered remains of books, and we're talking about Sifrei Torah, but any books, any scribe types of books, or the withered remains of the cloths covering these books, any amount, because they are even in the smallest amounts of these books, these Sifrei Kodesh, we take them and try to put them in Genizah. We try to put them in a place in which respects them, and therefore even the smallest amount is held by people and is taken seriously by people. Ember is liable. A person taking out ember is liable with any amount. Or somebody who takes out just fire is patur. I don't know how a person will be able to take out fire, but I'm sure it's possible. Halakha vav. המוסיס זרעוני גינה שאינם מאכלים לאדם, שיעורו פחות מכגרוגרת. So somebody who takes out seedlings that are not fit for human consumption will be liable when taking out even less than a gerogeret, which is a very small amount, less than a small date. Mizera kishuin shinain. So from the seedlings of squash, you're liable from taking out already 2 seedlings. Umizera delu'in, and from the seedlings of pumpkins, you're liable from taking out 2. Mizera fol hamisri, from the seedlings of Eura beans, I believe it's fora beans, you're liable also for taking 2 seeds out. Somebody who takes out bran is liable already if he takes the amount to cover, to put on the instrument of the goldsmith. Hamosi mursan, if somebody takes out mursan, which is a type of it's a type of, not grain, one second. It's a type of fibrous food, okay? So if it's for eating, shi'uroka gerogeret, the amount is a gerogeret. And if it's to feed an animal, the amount is to fill up a kid, a baby goat. Lisvi'ah, to color, for coloring these fibers, the amount is to color a small cloth. And we will see later on what a small cloth, what the size of a small cloth is. Lulabe zeradin ve'haruvin ad shelo yamtiku. Lulabe zeradin is little twigs, and haruvin are carobs, until they are edible. In other words, until before they are edible, and sweet, in other words, edible, the amount is kagerogeret. However, when they are already sweet, the amount is to feed a kid, because then they become edible, fit for animal consumption. However, the arum and the mustard and the lupine and any other types of pickleable types of foods, does not matter what stage they are in their ripeness, the amount is kagerogeret. Halacha zayin, hamosi gar'inin, somebody who takes out seeds is liable, even if he takes them out for eating, hamish, the amount to be liable is 5 seeds. And if it's to for fire setting, for setting of a fire, they are like trees. But if it's to remind the person of some sort of something, the amount is 2. Also, to plant, the amount of seeds to take out would be 2, because that's the amount of seeds that is useful. Somebody who takes out ezov, which is called in Israel, in modern Israel, they call it za'atar or hyssop. If it's for food, kagerogeret. If it's for an animal, kiblo pigedi. If it's for trees, for the usage of trees for fire, kishi'ur ha'asim, for the amount of trees that we previously mentioned, lahazaya, kishi'ur hazaya. They used to use the ezov to do hazaya with efer para aduma. Hazaya is the sprinkling of the water with the water of the para aduma, and this would be and in order to be liable for the taking out of a hyssop for hazaya, you need to take out the minimum amount that would allow a person to do the hazaya. Halacha het. Hamosi klipe egozin uklipe rimonim. Somebody who takes out peels of egozin, peels of peels of nuts or peels of pomegranates, any other type of colorless materials, will be liable from when he takes up the amount to color a small cloth. Which is the amount to create the net that the girls put on their head. Or somebody who takes out urine that has aged 40 days, which is useful for medicinal purposes, or what they call in some places, I've heard the Alexandrian carbon, which is something for medicinal purposes, or borit, soap, a type of soap from his time, or kimoniya, or some type of salt, also for medicinal purpose, called alkali salt, the ashlag, hard soap, hardened soap, and anything that is used for cleaning, all these things are cleaning agents. The minimum amount to be liable is to clean with them a small cloth, kasevacha, as previously mentioned, the size that was previously mentioned. Somebody who took out colors that were already immersed in water, the amount to be liable for them is to color a dugma la'oreg, an example to show the weaver. הלכה ט' המוציא דיו על הקולמוס, שיעורו כדי לכתוב ממנו שתי אותיות. Somebody who takes out ink on a quill, the amount to be liable is to write 2 letters. Now, a rule that must be understood to understand these halachot, a rule that must be mentioned. He'll mention the rule at the end of this chapter, but I must mention this rule now in order for this halakha to be understood. When somebody takes out objects on Shabbat, whatever it may be, food or anything, and he's holding the object in a type of container or something that contains the object, something that usually contains the object, and the container is considered only a holder of this object. In other words, he does not have any intrinsic use for the container. He's not taking out the container for the usage of the container, but rather he's taking out the container for the usage of the object being held by the container. He is not liable for the container. So if he takes out less than the minimum amount of usage in this container, he will not be liable. Rather, he'll be liable from Hachamim. So for example, we said that the minimum amount of seeds to take out in order to be liable is 2 seeds, of course, seeds for planting. So if a person takes 1 seed for planting in a small container, and the container is only used to house, to hold the seed, this 1 seed, he is not liable for extracting this container that is holding the seed. So now we'll go to halakha tet and we'll understand halakha tet this way. Hamosi diyo ala kolmos. So somebody who takes out a quill which has on it deyo, which has on it ink. Now he's using the quill to take out the ink. He's not using the quill he's not taking out the quill for its intrinsic use. So the amount to be liable for taking out, even though he's taking out a whole quill, is to write with it to write with the ink that he is extracting from whatever domain letters. However, if he took out the ink on its own, or in a keset is a small container housing the deyo, it must be a little bit more than this. How much? Namely, it needs to be the amount that if you were to dip a quill inside it, the quill that was dipped inside it would be able to write 2 letters. To anybody who doesn't know what a quill is the pen of sorts used to write with ink. It's kind of like a fountain pen, or from the olden times they would use, like a feather pen of sorts. So that is called a quill. היה בקסת כדי אות אחת, ובקולמוס כדי אות אחת. ובדיו לבדו כדי אות אחת, ובקולמוס כדי אות אחת, הרי זה ספק. So if there was in the keset enough to dip the quill in and write 1 letter, and he took out another quill which had on it enough ink to write 1 letter, or the ink he took out in ink alone in some sort of however way he wanted it, and with his hand alone, and there was enough only to write with it 1 letter. And again, he took out a quill that had enough to write 1 letter. So this is a safek. This is not sure. This is a undecided situation. And in this situation, a situation like this in the Chot Shabbat, where we have an undecided situation, it is always lehumra. In any place, we are more stringent in whatever the case may be. Somebody who took out enough ink to write 2 letters, and he was writing them as he is walking, as he's extracting the, as he's walking. Now, we said previously in the previous chapters that until somebody, as long as somebody is walking, it is not considered that he has fully done the extraction of the object from one domain to another. But if a person takes out ink, and while he's walking with the ink, he uses the ink, this is enough to consider the extraction a valid extraction, thus holding him liable for his action. Kitibatan zohi hanahatan. The writing of them is considered their hanahat, their putting down. Hosi ot ahat uchtabaha v'chasar vehosi ot sheniya uchtabaha patur. Shekevar hasira haot harishona. Somebody who took out enough ink to write 1 letter and wrote it, and then went back to the previous domain which he was in, and went out with another letter and wrote it, he's patur, shekevar hasira haot harishona, because he already heniach, he already put down the previous ink, and now taking out another half of the thing isn't enough to make him liable. You have to be, in order to be liable, you have to take out all the amounts together, and we will see a little bit more on this in the later halachot of this chapter. Halachayot, hamosi kohal, somebody who takes out kohal. Now kohal was some sort of material used in their days, a medicinal, usually for medicinal purposes, but also for purposes of makeup and and takshitim and jewelry. So ben l'fu'ah ben l'tachshit, whether the kohal that he took out, and it's some sort of blue material. So whether the kohal he took out was for medicinal purposes or for jewelry or the purpose of makeup, the amount to be liable is kedei likhol ayn achat, to put it on one eye. ובמקום שאין דרכן להתקשט אלא בחילת שני עיניים, והוציאו להתקשט עד שיוציא כדי לכחול שתי עיניים. And in a place in which the minimum norm for using this kohal is to use it on two eyes, okay, using it on one eye would be considered abnormal, would be considered not the proper usage of it. So in a place like that, in which the norm is to put it on two eyes, the person would be liable from taking out the amount to put it on two eyes. Zefet v'gofrit, tar and sulfur. Kedei la'asot nekev. The amount to be liable for taking them out is the amount which makes a nekev. What is a nekev? A nekev is a to cover the any little hole in a barrel that needs to be, so to speak, stuffed to stop things from coming out of it. Sha'ava kedei litin al pi nekev katan. Also, the amount of sha'ava, of wax to be liable for is also to put on a smaller nekev, a small nekev. Debek, blue kedei litin berosh shabshevet, to put on top of what they call a shabshevet. Now, a shabshevet was some sort of instrument used to take baby chickens, to take little chickens in and out of their habitat. Rebav kedei limshoch tachat rekik chasela, and the minimum amount of rebav, of fat, is to be able to rub on a rakik chasela. Rekik is a small baked good, and a sela is about 22 millimeters about in circumference, in diameter. Sorry, in circumference. So that would be the minimum of fat taken out, the minimum usage of fat. Halacha yod aleph. Hamosi adama kedei la'asot chotam igeret. The amount of clay that the person is liable for extracting is enough. The one that is enough to make a chotam for igeret, to make a stamp for a letter. Now we're talking about a letter that was rolled up and needed to be stamped to keep it rolled. This would be, so the amount of clay used for that would be enough to make a person liable for taking out. Tit kedei la'asot bikor, and the amount of clay of tit is a type of tarish clay. Also, mud mehila would be the amount to cover with it a instrument, the instrument of the goldsmith. Zevel choldak kedei lizabel keresha, and zevel, which is manure or thin sand, the amount to be liable would be kedei lizabel keresha, to leave in the ground of a keresha, this is a type of garlic. So to make enough ground to plant in it this type of garlic. Holgas, however, thick sand, kedei le'arev imilu kaf shel sayadin seed, is the one that is enough to take the trimmers and the trimmer's spoon and fill it with his seed. The seed is a white material. The name slips my mind. Harasit kedei la'asot pikor shel sulfei zahav. the amount of harsit to be liable, the amount of also a type of clays to be liable. These are all types of clays, the different variants of clay would be to make a pikor of sofei zahav, as previously explained. I previously explained what pikor of sofei zahav is. Se'ar, hair, כדי לגבל tit, לעשות pikor shel sofei zahav, the amount that is enough to hold in it clay for the amount of pikor shel sofei zahav. Seed, כדי לסוד אצבע קטנה שבבנות, the amount of seed, and it's this white material called the name slips my mind. It's some white chemical. Also, לעשות pikor shel sofei לסוד אצבע קטנה שבבנות, to whiten a small finger of the girls, of the little girls. עפר ואפר, sand and ashes, כדי לכסות דם ציפור קטנה, to cover the blood of a small bird that was slaughtered. Seror eben, כדי לזרוק בבהמה ותרגיש, the amount of a little stone or a clump of sand or dirt is the amount that is enough to throw on an animal, and the animal will feel it. Vehu mishkal 10 zuzim, and this is the mishkal of 10 zuzim. How much is that exactly? Is it's not so apparent. 10 zuzim is, I'm not going to give it the amount. Zuz is a weight in the days of the Talmud, and this is the amount. Haris כדי לקבל בו רביעית, and the amount of haris, of clay that was hardened, is to take in it the amount of a רביעית. הלכה י"ב, המוציא חבל כדי לעשות אוזן לקופה, the amount of rope to be taken out, to be liable for taking out, is to make a handle for a some sort of object that holds things in it. Gemi, כדי לעשות תלוי לנפה ולכפרה, the amount of gemi, which is a thinner type of rope, to make also a handle for a napa or kebara, for a sifter of sorts. Husin, כדי לעשות אוזן לכפיפה מסרית, the amount of husin, and I will tell you in a second what husin are, is to make a handle for what is called a kefifa misrit. Husin are the leaves of the lulav, and they used to make with the lulav, they would make like all kinds of baskets. So the amount of those leaves to be taken out would be enough to just make one knot with it, that is enough to be considered useful. Sieve, כדי ליתן על פי משפך קטן של יין, the amount of a sieve, and sieve is a type of strand, is enough to put it inside to cover a funnel of wine. Why would they do this? It would be either to sift or to close the funnel. Mochin כדי לעשות כדור כאגוז, cotton balls, any type of cotton ball type of thing would be to make a bowl like a nut. Aisim כדי לעשות tarvad, the amount of bone to be taken out to be liable for would be the amount of bone used to make a tarvad, and a tarvad is a spoon. זכוכית כדי לגרות בה הראש הקדקד, the amount of a glass would be to be gored with it, to scratch with it, to rosh hakadkad, and the rosh hakadkad is the kadkad is a type of it's a thin tree that they used to use for emblems, and they would need to cut it, a thin twig that they would cut, and out would come certain types of little colors, type of color. And so the amount of glass that a person is liable for taking out is enough to make that little hole in this twig. הלכה י"ג, המוציא שתן ימין מזנב הסוס ומזנב הפרה, חייב. So somebody who takes out two strands from the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow is liable. However, somebody who takes out one from the strong tail of a pig is also liable. The leaves of a dekel, of an ice dekel, of a palm tree, and these are like they have these strands that are in the palm tree. The amount is 2. Now on the palm tree you have these strands, and you also have the thicker, like leaves that cover the base of the tree. So in order to be liable, you have to take out one. מסמר גפן ומסמר קלח וסמר גמלים והנובעים החיה שבים ושאר כל הנתיבים כדי לטוות חוט אורך 4 טפחים. Anything that falls under the category of weavable, the amount would be to weave a string that is 4 tefahim long. Somebody who takes out cloth or sack or leather, the amount to be liable is the amount that a person is liable, is the amount that is enough to allow these materials to be mekabelim tum'ah, to receive tum'ah. That is the amount that makes a person liable. A cloth, in order to be liable to take out a cloth, the minimum amount is 3 by 3 tefahim, which is the minimum amount to make a cloth, to allow a cloth to be mekabel tum'ah, to receive tum'ah. Hasak, the sack, which is a different type of cloth, it's a variant of cloth, 4 by 4 tefahim. Ha'or, 5 and leather, in order for the leather to be able to receive tum'ah, it needs to be 5 by 5 tefahim, and so also for hosa'ah. Halacha yodalit. Somebody who takes out or that was not processed, so unprocessed leather. And this leather is still soft. The amount is to be able to create with that amount of leather a little weight that weighs the weight of a shekel. Not a shekel modern day currency, but it's a small amount in the days of the Talmud. If it was in the stage that it still had salt on it, so they used to salt it in order to process the leather. They would take it through a few stages. One of the stages would be beating the leather, then you would clean the leather, then you would salt the leather, and then you would put afsa, a type of water, a type of liquid, which contains in it all kinds of different curing materials, different chemicals. So if the leather was still salted, but was not yet put this afsa and flour, the shi'ur is kedei la'asot kamea. The amount is to make a talisman, a kamea, a very small talisman with written stuff on it, or you call it a talisman, or a name slips my mind, a kamea. I don't need to translate that. However, if the leather reached the stage of the flouring, where you would put the flour after this, which is right after the salt, but still was not processed with the afsa, which is a type of chemical, the amount of leather is the amount of leather needed to write a get to free a woman from her husband. However, and fully processed leather, as we previously mentioned, the amount to be liable for the extraction of it is 5 by 5 tefahim. Halachat titvav. Hamosi kelaf me'ubar. Somebody who takes out processed kelaf, and kelaf is parchment. The amount to be liable is the amount that is enough to write on it the parasha, the paragraph of Shema, until the end of it, until b'sharecha. Duchsustus, kede lichtov ala mezuzah. Duchsustus is a type of parchment that is special and specific for the writing of a mezuzah. So the amount to be liable for taking that out is to write on it a mezuzah. Niyar, paper, but it's not paper like the modern day type of paper. It's a thicker type, but also very, very close to the idea of modern day paper. The amount to be liable is to write with it 2 letters of the customs, the people of the customs, and this would be letters that are larger than our regular letters, so say about double the size. So that would be enough to consider a person liable if he takes out a paper that is large enough to write the 2 letters of the customs. The customs, they would usually write it like they'd give you like a receipt or a bill to show that you passed the customs, and people would keep these, and therefore this was considered useful. Hamosi kesher mochesin hayav. Somebody who takes out the letters of the customs is hayav. And we were talking about like a bill of to show that you passed the customs. Even though he showed this certificate to the customs, he is and he passed the customs, he still is liable if he takes it out. How come? Because people would usually keep these certificates in order, in any case, so that if the government comes and accuses them of taking things illegally through the customs, smuggling, etc., so they would be able to show that they passed the customs and it is stamped and passed through the customs. The amount of a shetar parua, of a used receipt, or shetar is any paper that signifies monetary value or monetary and any type of deal or contract. So the amount of a shetar parua, so somebody takes out a shetar that is already parua, so a used certificate of such, or a niyar mahuk, a paper that was erased, the amount to be liable is the amount that is enough to cover with it a little bottle of paliaton. Paliaton is what we call shemen hamor. It's a type of it's musk oil, and this was considered something very valuable in those days. So the amount would be to cover that little seluhit. And if this paper has enough room left in it, enough usable room left in it to write a kesher mochesin, then the 2 letters of kesher mochesin, then he is liable from that amount and upwards. Somebody who takes out, now we're in the last part of the amounts prescribed by the sages in taking out. And after these halachot, we will see, from halakha kaf till the end of our chapter, we will see the different criteria used to evaluate whether or not something is does cause the person to be liable or not for taking it out. So now we are in animals. Somebody who takes out animals, behemot, whether we're talking about tehora, haya, off, birds, even if they're alive, he is liable. However, a live person is not considered masoy, and a person is not liable for taking him out. However, if he was tied up or sick, the person is liable for taking him out because he is in a situation in which he cannot carry himself. We have a rule in regard to human beings which says hahai nosed asmo. So in regard to living beings, hahai nosed asmo, and this rule applies to human beings. And a woman can, or any person, of course, but he's saying ha'isha because this is what was used in those times. It would be usually the woman who takes out the child from the house. So she may take the child out if the child is strong enough to pick one foot up and put the other on the ground while the woman is, so to speak, kind of guiding him and helping him. If he is strong enough to pick up one foot and move the other, then she may do such for him. Halakha yot zayin. Hamosit tinok chai v'chis talui b'savaro hayav mishum hakis. Somebody who takes out a live baby. Now, a baby, okay, cannot carry himself. A baby cannot walk. So if this baby, but nevertheless, if this baby has a kis talui b'savaro, okay, by baby we mean child. So talking about a child. Somebody takes out a child and he has some sort of pouch tied on his neck. The person is liable for the pouch because the pouch is not cancelled vis-a-vis the child. However, if he takes an adult, somebody above that already walks on their own, etc., even if he has jewelry and things cut on him, the person taking him out is patur, shakol tefilalo, because all these things are tefillah relative to the person. Tefillah means they're like canceled, they're like worth, they're not, of consideration when we're taking out a person. Somebody whose clothing were folded on his back, so if you take him out, you are liable for the clothing. Somebody takes out a grasshopper that is live, is liable from any amount. V'met kagerogeret, and dead, the amount is kagerogeret, a small date, because this is the amount that is edible for human beings, for human consumptions. Siporet keramim is a type of bird, is a type of grasshopper. Ben haya ben meta kol shehu, even if it was alive or dead, the amount of taking it to be liable for taking out is any amount. How come? Because it is used for medicinal purposes. And anything like that is used for medicinal purposes, any amount is, you will be liable for taking out any amount of it. A dead grasshopper, a dead animal, or a nevela, or a dead person, or a dead animal, or a sheres. The sheres will be 8 sherasim that we previously mentioned in the previous perakim. These are eight types of animals that convey tum'ah to other things when they are alive. Kishi'ur tum'atan. The amount is the minimum amount that they cause things to be tameh with. Kach shi'ur hosa'atan. Metun vela b'chazait v'sheres ka'adasha. A dead person and a dead animal, the minimum amount for them to a nevela is an animal that was killed in a non-kosher way. So a dead person and a nevela, the minimum for them to cause tum'ah to something else is kazait, the amount of an olive, and a sheres, these 8 animals, and they are mentioned in Parashat Sav, they're mentioned in the previous chapters, these 8 animals, ta'adasha, like a lentil. Halacha yotet. היה שם כזית מסומסם, ועושים ממנו כחצי זית היה. So if there was something from these, from the dead or nevela or sheres, these things that we said that their minimum is the amount that they cause tum'ah for. So if there was exactly a kazait of these, of any of one of these specimens. So for example, there was exactly a kazait of a human carcass, I'm not going to use that example, of a sheres, of a turtle or a crocodile. There was exactly a kazait of that. And he took out, and he took out from it, he extracted from one domain to another only half of that zait. He is hayav. He is liable. How come? Because by taking out that half from one domain to another, he made it so that zait, that full zait, that thing that was once a full size of an olive, now cannot cause anything else to be tameh, and therefore he did something useful with his action. However, if the minimum, if what was left from this piece of mitameh thing, of mitameh object, for instance, this turtle, was left more than a kazait and up, even if he took out of it, for instance, half a kazait, and he left one kazait, he did not do anything, he's patur, he's patur avalasu. And anything using this rule, based on these rules. Halacha kaf. What do we mean? That now, from this halacha to the end of the chapter, we will be discussing various rules in regard to hosa'ah, and this will give us, so to speak, borders to use later on when deciding about things, whether or not you are liable for taking them out. What do we mean when we say that a person is not liable until he takes out the minimum amount of use? So we gave different amounts. So we said, for instance, teven kimlo pigedi. So the amount of weeds is the amount of weeds to fill up a mouth of a kid, of a baby goat. However, so if you took out sitam, you took out weeds without thinking what you want to take them out for, meaning for the common usage of weeds, then you would be hayav for the amount prescribed by Chachamim. However, if a person takes out for zera, for something, or refu'ah, or for medicinal purposes, or just to show an example of it, he is liable from even the smallest amount if he takes out for something else that requires a smaller amount of whatever he is taking out. So, for example, in the weeds, if he's taking out types of weeds for medicinal purposes, even the most minuscule amount, from the second he takes it out from one domain to another, he is liable for taking it out. Halakha kaf alef. Hamasniya daba lizri'ah. Somebody who is holding, by masniya we are talking about something where he is saving, or this something, and this is of meaning to him. Lizri'ah, for planting, or lirfu'ah, for medicinal purposes, or ledugma, or for exemplary purposes, to show people. However, he forgot what he was holding this object for. He didn't remember, so his original usage, the original reason he took this object, this seed, was for medicinal purposes, and he forgot why he had it. And he took it out stam for no reason. He took it out in sitam, just like that. He is still liable for it from any amount. Because the reason he took it out was the dot that he had. We go after the original holding of this object, of this piece. So if he had it, he has a seed of sorts, and he had it for medicinal purposes, for example, and he forgot why he had it, and now we took it out, just like that, he is liable for it as though he had it for medicinal purposes, even though he forgot why he was taking it out. However, in other cases, you are not hayav. However, somebody else who takes out these things which somebody else thought of for whatever purpose, so if some other person takes it out, he is liable from the minimums prescribed previously. However, if somebody put back whatever he wanted to take out into the pile of objects that it was originally in. So, for example, somebody took a seed out of a pile of seeds, and this seed was going to be used for medicinal purposes. But now he put the seed back into the pile of seeds, the original pile. Even though the seed is visible, this seed that you took out for medicinal purposes and put back is still visible to the eye. The original thought that was this seed was going to be used for, this whatever object we're talking about, was cancelled. Therefore, if he now took out the seed, this whatever object, from one domain to another, he is going to be liable from the minimums prescribed in the previous halachot, and not from kol shehu, not from the small, and not just from taking out any amount. Why? Because he already put it back in its place with all the other types of its, with all the other amount of its type. Halakha kaf bet. Something that most people do not save or want, and is not usable, and is not even tangible, like menstrual blood. If somebody took it and saved it and took it and held it as though it was his, and he took it out, now he is liable for it. However, other people are not liable for taking out that which somebody else took for himself, and most people do not take for themselves to keep. So somebody else who takes it out. So let's say somebody took some object that most people throw, like, for example, a piece of toilet paper. He took and he wanted to use this piece of toilet paper for something, and a used piece of toilet paper, okay? And somebody else sees it and takes it in and out. The other person is not liable because this is something which most people do not take in and out. Somebody takes out half of an amount of the previously prescribed amounts is patur. Also, anybody who does a melacha from any of the lamitet melachot, half of it, halfway, is patur, and we spoke about this previously in Perek Aleph. Somebody who took out half of the minimum amount to be liable, and put it down out in the domain which he took it out of. In other words, he took it from one reshut to another, and he put it in the other reshut. And now he takes another half and puts it in the other reshut. He is hayav. ואם קדם והגביה החסי הראשון קודם הנחת החסי השני נעשה כמי שנשרף ופטור. However, if he picked up the first half that he took out originally with his hand before putting down the second half, he is patur. It is as though it was burnt, and he is patur. In the Talmud, there is more on the explanation of what it means v'hayash k'mishin islaf, but just on the peshat of the things of the halakha here, it is as though as it wasn't in existence, and therefore the person is patur for taking it out. Somebody who took out half of the minimum amount to be liable as prescribed previously, and put it down in a separate domain, in another reshut, and took out the other half that would make him liable if he were to put it down in the other reshut. However, he did not put it down, but put it within 3 tefahim of the other half. Okay, within 3 tefahim, he is hayav. Because once you put it within 3 tefahim, it is as though it rested on the thing, because we said שלושה tefahim kelabud dame. Anything that is within 3 tefahim of another object is as though it is connected to that object, and we see that in Hilchot Sukkah as well as in Hilchot Shabbat. Abal im zerako eno hayav. However, if he threw the second half above, and it went above the first half that he originally rested in the other reshut, he is not hayav because he threw it. And when you throw until it rests on something, he is not liable. Halakha kaf dalet. Somebody who took out half of the minimum amount. He took out half of the minimum amount, and then he took out another half. And all this was in one ha'ilem, was in one lack of knowledge. So in order for a melacha to be considered a melacha, if somebody does it by mistake, it has to be in the same mindset. So if for example, somebody forgot it was Shabbat and he turned the light on, that is called one ha'ilem. So if somebody forgot it was Shabbat and he cooked something, that is one ha'ilem. However, if he forgot and then remembered again that it was Shabbat and then forgot again, this is already, and did something else, this is considered 2 ha'ilem, and therefore he'll be hayav sheteh hata'ot. He'll have to give 2 korbanot. So somebody who took out hasish yaur, and then another hasish yaur, and all this was in one ha'ilem, in one forgetting that it was Shabbat, and this was to one domain of the domains which is asur, hayav. L'shte rashuyot, yesh b'nehen reshut shehayavin aleha patur. If you took it out to 2 reshuyot, to let's say you were in the reshut hayahid, and then you took out the reshut rabim, and then you were in a different reshut hayahid, and you took out to another and then you were in reshut rabim, and you took to reshut hayahid, you will be patur because it's two different reshuyot. However, it's the same reshut. For example, somebody took from this one reshut hayahid to a reshut rabim, and then from the same reshut hayahid to reshut rabim, he will be hayav. However, if in between these reshuyot there's another domain, another reshut from those reshuyot that you are hayav for them, for like as we said, reshut hayahid or reshut rabim, public domain or private domain, which is in between the domains. So he took from reshut, for example, he took from reshut rabim to reshut hayahid to reshut rabim somehow, and there was reshut hayahid in between them, he will be patur. However, if these domains that he took out to had in between them a karmelit, which you said is not hayav mideoraita, he is hayav hata. He is hayav as though he took out to the same domain. Halakha kaf he. Hamosi pachut mikal shi'ur. Hamosi pachut mikal shi'ur. וקודם שיניחו נטפח וחזר כשיעור, וכן המוסי כשיעור, וקודם שיניח סמך וחזר פחות מכשיעור פטור. Somebody took out any object which was smaller than the minimum amount to cause him to be liable for his action, to be hayab. And he took it out, but before he rested it in the other reshut, it grew again. It became larger, enlarged, and now was of shi'ur to make him liable. Or vice versa, or he took something that was of shi'ur, that was enough to make him liable for taking it out, for his action. But before he rested it in the separate reshut, it became smaller. He is patur. Why? Because what he wanted, as we saw in the first chapter, if somebody starts doing a melacha, but a melacha other than the melacha that he wanted to do in his head happens, he will be patur for this melacha. Lama shemelechet b'hashevet asira Torah, because only that melacha which the person thinks he is doing and he ends up doing is what the Torah forbids. Halacha kafhe. המוסיק הגרוגרת לאכילה וסמיקה קודם הנחה וחשב עליה לזריעה או לרפואה שאינו צריך שיעור, הרי זה חייב. Somebody who takes out an amount of a gerogeret for eating purposes. So, וסמיקה קודם הנחה, and it became smaller before he put it down. וחשב עליה לזריעה או לרפואה שאינו צריך שיעור, הרי זה חייב. So the example is like this. Somebody took something out to eat, and as we said, the minimum amount is gerogeret. But before he put it down, it became smaller than the minimum. And simultaneously with it becoming smaller before he put it down, he changed his mind and decided he wanted it for a purpose that even the smallest, even taking out anything, would make him hayav. He is hayav. Why? Because when he was putting it down, it gave him some sort of intrinsic usage. For the same mahashava when he was resting it. However, if he took out a small amount, less than a gerogeret, for ziri'ah, for usage, he took out something that is normally eaten by people, but he took it out for a usage that he would be liable even if he took out the smallest, even if he took out kol shehu. But as he was, and this was less than the gerogeret, and as he's putting it down, he decided in his mind that he wants to eat it, he's patur, nevertheless. However, if it grew back to the size of a gerogeret, and as he changed his mind and he puts it down now in the separate reshut, he is hayav. Because even if he wouldn't have thought, even if he wouldn't have changed his mind, he would have been hayav for the hosa'ah. Why? Because he wanted, anyway, he would have been hayav because he was doing something, he was taking it out for a reason that would make him hayav just from taking out any of that object. Halacha kaf zayin. Hosika gerogeret la'achila v'samika. Hosika gerogeret la'achila v'samika v'chazira v'tafiha kodem hanacha, הרי זה ספק אם נדחה או לא נדחה. Started extracting something from one domain to another for the purpose of eating. And it was the size that would make him liable. In other words, a gerogeret. And it became smaller and then became larger. Again, it became smaller than a gerogeret and then passed again, went back to the size of a gerogeret before he put it down. Okay? And now he puts it down. It is a safek if he did an avon or not, is safek if he is liable or not, and therefore we are shofetim lehumra, we are stringent in any place in this situation to disallow it. זרק כזית אוכלין לבית הטמא והשלים כזית זה לאוכלין שהיו שם ונעשה הכל כבשה, הרי זה ספק אם נתחייב על כזית מפני שהשלים השיעור לעניין טומאה או לא נתחייב. Also the same thing if he threw a kazite of food to a tameh place, to a place that is tameh, and this food combined with other foods was the amount of a kabbesa, of an egg, it is safek if he's hayav on the kazite or not, because in ochalin, the minimum for food to be able to accept, to receive tum'ah is kabbesa. And by throwing this kazite of food, he caused the food that the food entered that was combined with it to be kabesa, and now it's able to receive tum'ah. So it's also safek, and we're not sure it's a safek, and therefore we are danim lehumra, we are more stringent in this, to always be oserim et ze, and not to be matirim et ze. Halacha kafhet. Hamosip pachut mikashi'ur, afal pi she'oseo b'keli patur. So I mentioned this rule previously in one of the previous halachot. Somebody who takes out less than the minimum amount to make him liable, even if he took it out inside a sort of dish or some type, inside something that was holding it, he is patur. How come? Shakeli tefilalo. As long as whatever object, whatever was holding the object, was there to hold the object. Okay, so for example, we spoke about deo, we spoke about ink. So I'm going to give you an example of a seedling. We also spoke of that example. Somebody, the minimum amount to be liable for taking out seeds to grow plants is 2 seeds, and he took out 1 seed in a container. And this container is a large container. Normally, he would be liable for taking this container out. However, because the container in his head is holding the seed, he's using the container only to hold something. The container is considered tefillah. It is like canceled out in regard to whatever he's taking out, even if what he is taking out is less than the amount to make him liable mideoraita. Shakeli tefilalo ve'en kavanato le'hosa'at hakeli ela le'hosa'at ma shebetocho ve'arei en bo kashi'ur. Lefichach im hosi adam chai she'eno kafut b'mita. And therefore, if you took somebody that was alive and is not tied up, and he's in a bed, this person is alive and he can move, but he's in a bed. Patur af ala mita. The person is patur even for taking out the bed. Normally, a person would be liable for taking out a bed out from reshut to reshut, but because there was a person on it, it is as though the person was holding the bed. The bed was holding the person like a container holding a seed. The bed is cancelled in regard to the person. In anything in such a manner, and somebody takes a container of the rochelin, of the spice sellers. A rochel could be a spice seller or a good smell, something of good smells. So if he takes out this container holding them, even though they have a lot of types, and even if he holds it in his hand, he's hayav only one, because the container holding them is one container, and therefore it's like he'll see one thing. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.